It's a question which I've been asked several times in the past. Does our foreign policy impact elections and our politics? I just want to say that one only has to look at the budget session and how it was completely washed out to see how much our external policy can impact things at home. First, it was revelations about how we dealt with China and events of the summer of 2020 as contained in former Army Chief Manoj Naravane's book. Then, it was the impact of the India-US trade deal on our farmers. And then, as the first half of the budget session was ending, the opposition was demanding that Union Minister of Petroleum Hardeep Puri should resign over his meetings with sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. But is this all surprising? Not really. Let me tell you why. First, let's look at what kind of disruption we're talking about. Since the session began on January 28th, we've had very low productivity. I mean, imagine this. We didn't get to hear the leader of the opposition, Rahul Gandhi, make his remarks on the motion of thanks to the president, and neither could the Prime Minister do so in Lok Sabha. That by itself is extremely rare. And that's because Gandhi wanted to raise the contents of Naravane's unpublished book and how it revealed government indecision about handling the rapidly moving Chinese army in Galwan. The speaker wouldn't allow him to speak, which eventually led to a no-confidence motion against the speaker. And if you look at the productivity chart of both houses, you'll see that other than budget being presented on a Sunday, that's Feb 1, most of the past week saw Lok Sabha work on 10%, 8%, 3% and again 3% and 5% before the president's discussion had ended and the budget discussion started, and that's when things really improved inside the House. Outside the House, of course, it's all about the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. The opposition parties like the Congress have doubled down on asking for the union minister's resignation over his email exchange with Epstein between 2014 and 2017. Hardeep Puri admits to meeting the man convicted of trafficking and assaulting minors 3 or 4 times, but says in his defense, it was to promote India's cause and also it was before he became a minister. However, just like any link with Epstein is creating tremors in other governments like Britain and industry, the controversy in India is also likely to go on for some time. What's interesting, of course, is that most politicians I spoke to privately say that voters may not really care about this issue. One opposition chief minister, when asked privately, said that however grave the allegations, sex scandals like this were unlikely to be a factor or an issue in any upcoming election. One aspect of parliament protests, however, are likely to have much more resonance with the general public. And that's the India-US trade deal, which we have learnt about in greater detail this past week. It's the reason why we've seen numerous clarifications by Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal. In fact, as Rahul Gandhi released a video early evening on Thursday, the minister released his counter to that video after midnight. Gandhi's speech inside Parliament was expunged heavily, where he compared the deal to a chokehold by President Donald Trump on India. But he's also met farmers today, and opposition from Punjab, Himachal, apple and textile farmers is already gathering momentum. That's also because of the large number of people that the deal will impact. Dealing with Donald Trump has stumped leaders across the world. And while the government is relieved that the 50% tariff is just 18% now, the opposition won't let go of the opportunity to remind everyone that it started out with just 3% tariff and that even smaller countries like Bangladesh seem to have got equally good deals, some would argue better ones. Some government sources reminded reporters that when India signed the civil nuclear deal during Manmohan Singh's tenure in UPA-1, it was also accused of surrendering to the US's terms. We'll get to know the overall impact of this deal in the coming months. It's important to also look at another foreign policy event today that's likely to impact domestic policy in the coming weeks, as Bangladesh voted decisively for Bangladesh Nationalist Party and Tariq Rahman, the son of former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia. The Prime Minister was one of the first to congratulate him. This may be India's cue to reset what has been less than cordial ties between both countries. That may mean that the government reins in those political elements who speak of Bangladesh not as a friendly neighbor but as foes. Expect more action on that in the lead up to West Bengal elections in April-May. Before I sign off, let's return to what I asked at the beginning of the video. Is it surprising or new that foreign policy or foreign events impact domestic agenda? Well, not really, because if you look at parliament proceedings from Indira Gandhi's time in the 70s and 80s, even revelations in books abroad became major political controversies here. I'll give you one example. Investigative American journalist Seymour Hersh's book that said that Morarji Desai was a paid CIA agent, and another book by Thomas Pars also said that Indira's cabinet in 1971 had a CIA mole. This all played into Indira's conspiracy theory of foreign hand working against her and led to lots of standoffs between the government and the opposition of the day. Similarly, how Nehru dealt with China before the 1962 debacle and how Indira dealt with Nixon became central points in domestic politics.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.